We are here today to receive feedback from the visiting committee from WASC, who came to spend the last 4 days with us to learn more about the work that we're doing to support our students and families in our community. And I think it's very important to note that when they come here, their other jobs don't go away. And so they spend 12, 14 hours with us and then have to go back to their hotel rooms and respond to hundreds of emails and lesson plan and all the other work that we do on a daily basis. So it's a huge labor of love for people to participate voluntarily in the accreditation process, to really come to help us showcase the great work that we're doing and then help provide guidance and best practices that can help take our operation to the next level. Hashtag building on success. So I just wanted to set this up. Pushing it hard, people. I just want to recognize especially our chair, Martha Young-Jones, has done a number of these site visit committees as chair and as a member, and certainly her expertise has been very helpful in this process. We are recording this and we'll broadcast the presentation again at 1:45 for those who weren't able to come earlier. It looks like we do have a full house, so this is not my show, so I'm going to hand it back over to Ms. Martha Young-Jones and let her take over from here. Thank you.
And so with that, I would like to start our presentation. Every time we do an accreditation, one of the main things that we're trying to determine is how do you know that all of the students are actually able to achieve based upon what you have identified as your school-wide learning outcomes and the standards. And is this school that we're going to accredit doing everything that they can to support the high achievement for all students? These students have goals. So are you doing that? And that is what we've set about to do by reading your document, coming here, visiting, talking with you, and now giving this report. What we'll do now is go through what are called the criteria for WASC and have the individual who was primarily or secondarily responsible for the writing of that area to talk about how would we celebrate that area and what areas do we feel that you should be focusing on. We're going to start first with one.
Okay, just really quick. I just want to thank Star and Melissa for making me feel welcomed at the opening reception. And then also thanks to the resident deans that I've visited at their campuses, Robin, Barbara, and Lori. And then I just wanted to make a special comment about a teacher that we met, or that I met, and that it was really special, Rosa Castillo. She's a fashion and sewing instructor at West City. And so this goes back to a lot of the comments that I heard about the teachers, loving their work here. And so this particular instructor, she went to ECC in 1978. I looked at her profile online just to make sure. And then what she told us was that she was actually got to see the campus where it was dug up and they're starting to build. And so then she was hired in 1980 as a sewing instructor. Very amazing story, and just that's something for you to come back and maybe capture. Okay, so areas to celebrate. Broad instructional programs for large and diverse populations of students that support lifelong learning, personal, academic, and career goals. Revised and focused mission and vision statements that represent the institution's goals and culture. Strategically focused SLOs that are aligned to student needs. Institution focus on inclusion, diversity, and social justice. And an institutional cultural shift toward data-driven decision-making and continual improvement. So areas of focus: communicating on the institution's mission statement to the broader community and stakeholders, systemic process to review and revise SLOs, the use of qualitative and quantitative data to guide the development of new programs and educational services, and collaboration and coordination with industry and workforce development.
All right, I was in charge of looking at your organizational infrastructure and school leadership, which was really a lot of fun because, you guys have gone through some monumental change in a short period of time in terms of your leadership structure. And it looks like it's going to continue for a little while here shortly, too. So hopefully you've got some consistency now settling in. It looks like you have a really strong plan moving forward. I know we have some temporary positions, but everybody's aware of that. There's a plan for how it's going to move forward, which really is good. your oversight and internal controls seem to be really well set in place. The communication and transparency seems to be there too in terms of all that you're doing. One of the things that was really amazing to see was there's been a monumental amount of change over the last 2 years, and nobody's pissed off at each other. Pardon me language that bothers you, but I mean there's always a few. If you have somebody angry, you're not doing anything. So but it's amazing to see how collegial everybody is, given how much has changed so rapidly. It says a lot about the leadership in the institution that's happened. So you need to celebrate that. And yet, we're looking forward. I think you have some really good frameworks in place and a good plan in place for how you're going to manage the change and leadership that's going to be needed coming forward. Some focus areas, again, with all these changes, you obviously need a way to do some more formal evaluation of your whole governance structure. The integrating of that planning process throughout those systems. Reviewing your leadership job descriptions, especially with them changing like they are, that's really critical that you do that. And then the historical records for institutional planning, it's always good to have those things to refer back to as you move forward, to know where you've come from, which helps inform where you're going to go. And then one of the things that we've added was including student representation on more committees. I noticed when we were looking at some of your evidence, some of the new committees that you've established, I think there were 6 or 8 of them in this one list I looked at. Only 2 of them listed students as members of those committees. The others did not. And I think it's something to look at. How can you get students more involved? And I know in one of our group meetings yesterday, it was brought up that students are invited, but they don't always come. Well, we got to work on how can you get some to come and get them more involved, because they have an important voice. I mean, they're your client, so we would recommend you work on that.
Good afternoon. I too would like to thank all of you for your kindness and your cheers and happy faces, and also the food. It's been wonderful. Thank you, thank you. I felt so welcome the moment I got here, and I'd also like to thank Richard. Richard was so energetic on Sunday evening at the reception. I was speaking with the lady from the prison ministry, and she was sharing ministries. You can tell I go to church. The prison educational program, whatever. And she was talking with me, and just as she was sharing her story, I was starting to shed some tears, and you came in and you just took it over and you kept me from crying. So thank you very, very much. But it's just been a wonderful pleasure to work with you. I'm happy to share some of the areas for you to celebrate. I think it is wonderful that you have such a responsive Senate. Your participation from your classified staff in your governance committee is worth being commented on. And also the one that I thought was really exciting was the Leadership Academy for all levels. How I got into leadership was because the school that I formerly worked in had a leadership committee, a leadership training for teachers, and I had never thought about going into leadership, but because of that academy, I got involved in it, and here I am today. So I was especially happy to see that one. And then also the flexible work schedules to allow teachers to participate in professional development. I think that is to be commended. In terms of areas for focus, I would just urge all of you to take a little closer look at your hiring practices in terms of your online application process. Make sure that your classified staff is aware of a clear process to inform your classified staff regarding the new programs. Make sure that you're including and making it possible for your part-time staff, your adjunct professors to participate in the all of your professional developments, and especially those online and distance faculty members. I know that they've got other jobs, other things going on, but the more that they're involved, the more they feel confident to work with your students, the more successful they'll be, the more they'll want to hang around, because we know that success breeds success, and we want them to be aware and have those skills necessary to be effective in the classroom. Thank you very much.
At 5'2", I'm standing.
Because I can't see half of you. Okay. There's so many people to thank. Richard, Neil, counterparts, but oh my gosh, you actually like each other. That's so cool. No kidding. Lori, Barbara, Corinne, Carol, Carlos, and et cetera, and et cetera, and et cetera. Thank you so much for making this otherwise exhausting process really enjoyable, and smile on your faces when you probably didn't feel it and we didn't either. So thank you very much. Okay. Curriculum instruction is actually my area as the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Ed Services. That's where my love is, and that's where I've spent so many years. Areas to celebrate. Obviously, there's some well-defined levels of instruction and pathways, not only within but outside programs and paths, and that's wonderful, especially with the connections that you have with your industry partners. Your multimodal approach, what we mean by that is not only the different strategies that are used within the classrooms, but also the fact that you also have varied modalities such as online, what we call brick and mortar, hybrid programs. So that's also an area to celebrate. Individual assessments, the individual pieces. Whenever we walked around classrooms, we really took a look at, and it was amazing to see the amount of formative data that was available for us to look at that really informed instruction. Some new instructional technology and the smart classrooms that are available, that's only going to get better, so that's an area to celebrate. Relevant and current instructional content, again, that really looks at being relevant and meets the needs of your students and equally important to your community. And then collaboration within and across programs, that's an area. Areas for focus, expanding distance learning opportunities. That's the up and coming, and I'm sure you're starting to see that with a number of requests, and that's what we've heard. Embracing open education resources, making sure that students' persistence and success, focusing on creating some continuity and consistency in your curriculum review. We've seen that you've already started a lot of that process, but making it so that it's a little bit more standardized across the board. Then developing some articulation agreements with colleges as your more and more of your students transition to credit. And then of course a more robust electronic student information system that seriously informs everything you do in instruction. Okay?
Who's next? Stephen. See, I'm standing and we're almost.
I was gonna say, I was gonna keep sitting at 5-2 sitting, I'm all right. Yeah, I want to echo the appreciation and thanks for all your hospitality. It was good to reconnect with some old familiar faces from days past. Kate and I served on some committees in the past together in different roles, but again, it was very appreciated, and I appreciate your candor and willingness to open up and share your programs with us. In terms of your instructional program, just talk to the students here for a minute. You've got some stuff going on that's pretty good. You've got diverse, high-quality, experienced faculty that come from a variety of backgrounds, a variety of experiences that they can share with the students, and students recognize that and appreciate it. And they all are very dedicated. We kept hearing over and over from students how the teachers would go out of their way to spend extra time and give help when it was needed to help students learn what they needed to learn. Free, diverse, and accessible programming using your instructional strategies and models, like the IBEST model. The more you can replicate that sucker, the better. That thing really has some impact. And the fact that students get access to so much of this for free is just mind-boggling. What a great program for them. Experience in meeting the individual student needs through their counseling, student education plans, and your DSP services. It seems really comprehensive. It can always be better, but what you're doing with the staff you have, the number of students you have, is really commendable. The options for professional development through that Flex program is great, and then that Passport to Success program is marvelous. If more of the K-12s could do that with new teachers, we might be able to hang on to a few more. I remember a number of your teachers commented how important it was for them to have that mentor that they could go to early on in their career, and that's really critical. It's really helped improve, I think, the quality of your instructors' expertise. So the areas of focus. The upgrading your data tracking technology, you've heard that theme arise over and over from you and from us. The instructional career tech resources and technology, just continue to upgrade those, keeping up to date, because in the CT world, the technology changes so fast, particularly if you start looking at your BIT program, you're working with computer technology. It's just, by the time you get the new stuff delivered and installed, it's already out of date. The counseling services for CT, helping students navigate that path to employment is going to be important. Just continue to build on that. The placement testing for CT programs. Since you have a population that oftentimes is coming in with prior experience, knowing where they are in that continuum of their experiences will help place them more appropriately, so continue the development of those. The online offerings, obviously that's something you've mentioned you want to continue to expand. That was mentioned previously. And then also your interdisciplinary collaboration to facilitate students' ability to enroll across programs and get multiple exposure to a lot of different opportunities.
So I'm doing the assessment piece, and this is probably why you sat me at the door. So a quick getaway. But before I begin, just again, a huge thank you to all of you that made us really feel like it was home for the last 3 days. Your smiles every single day, even when what we were saying wasn't always the easiest to hear. You were participating in the process with your full and whole heart, which kind of ties into the assessment piece, because our first questions were, where is the data? Where's the data? And about halfway through that first day, I realized I was looking for 33%, and what I could have been doing was counting smiles because of the culture and climate that you have created. Get areas to celebrate are some of those innovative practices and programs that you've created through your annual review processes and your monthly program meetings. They are very innovative. I've heard the word progressive from many, many people across your institution in regard to your programs and practices. Involvement of stakeholders in the needs assessment process, again, looking through your academic and your classified sentence as a way to garner feedback and needs is a real plus. And again, it is unique to see not only you guys sitting together, but you guys are smiling and laughing together. So also the empirical data decision making that you do through the honest and open and sometimes courageous conversations that you have to get to the next level of practice is something that is to be celebrated, because that requires a level of trust. And so again, going back to my previous statement, we came in looking for those hard numbers, and what you actually given me back is my effective filter, the ability to read the human capacity. And the analytical data to drive decision making that you use. So again, going back to that same comment. Areas of focus, and you're on your road to this, so all of these could say continue to strive toward moving forward with an automated tracking system to track not only student assessment data, but also program completion and coursework. So you're looking at that overall institution-wide data as well as those specific course. Provide further professional development in the areas of assessment building and understanding, and the interweaving and balance between the empirical data that you are so good at and also the analytic data to kind of support that and then drive the decision making.
I'd like to say thank you to those of you that drove me around. I'm really bad with names, but because I've met so many people. But Cesar Chavez, the dean for Cesar Chavez, everyone has been extremely gracious. ECC here, the courses, the classes, the walking, everything that you have done for us, I want to say thank you. And Dr. Cortez, you have an awesome faculty and staff, and we've enjoyed working or being here. So my area is student support services. One of the areas to celebrate is probably the CDCP, I believe it is, and it's the transitioning to college, CTE and employment. The comprehensive enrollment counseling and support services that you provide for all students, your student services department and everything that you have to offer, the additional grants that you go after are proven here with all of the support services that you provide to your students here on campus, and something that's really an area to celebrate. Your extensive marketing of student support services and community outreach, training and professional development for counseling staff and for faculty. Obviously, there's always areas where you can improve, but you do so many things so well, and I was extremely impressed with the whole student services department. The website providing current and accurate information on student support services. Each student, you develop a non-credit student educational plan, and I think that helps with student success. And then your ASB groups are extremely diverse. That you have them on each of your campuses, they seem to kind of create that positive culture on campus is to be commended. So areas of focus, to create a comprehensive and effective plan to obtain, organize, and store student success data, which it sounds like you guys are in the process of doing with your ERP. Expand online student support services. It does seem that the students that are taking some of your online classes may not know the services that are available to them. So just kind of expanding that. Printed material in different languages, and I know we spoke a little bit about that. You have, over 170 countries represented on your campus, so I know that can be difficult, but maybe choosing one or two of the predominant languages on campus. And then more student access to tutoring services. I know you don't have the direct money for that. That was one of the areas, though, that hopefully you can find some sort of funding to support that.
Speaking of money. Okay. Resource management. Some of the areas to celebrate are flex and professional development opportunities for all of your employees. Funding for a lot of the ancillary activities that are going on. When I read your document, it was amazing to see all the funding, both restricted and unrestricted monies that you have. And while you still can always use more because of the way you're expanding, it's good to see that funding for many of your activities is there. And then new and upgraded buildings, and of course we all got an opportunity to go and visit and see some of the amazing environments that you've created for your students, not only the actual structures, but even your off-campus sites are pretty interesting. And also your, I'll say something about that in a second. And then your technology upgrades. Carol was lucky enough to take us around. I won't mention it. She can tell you about David and my experience seeing one of the classes. For focus areas, replacing the bungalows at Miramar College, there are a couple of areas right there and use of Prop S&N funding to do that, making an effort to be more transparent in allocation. There are obviously a lot of mechanisms in place and a lot of committees and but even communicating more all the wonderful things you're doing with regard to budget allocation and fiscal issues would be good. Upgrading Mid-City's classrooms, smart class using funding, upgrading ECC classrooms with smart technology, renovating the existing theater that I know that you use not only yourselves, but also because you use it with your community partners in many ways. Additional classrooms and operational spaces. Oh my gosh, as you continue to grow, and you will because of the programs and the services you provide, you'll need to look at that. And then of course upgrading and maintaining all of those better and newer and bigger and technology pieces that we know are going to be coming, as Steve said, the minute you get them put in, something new and better happens. Okay?
Hi there, I get to talk finally. You guys probably thought I was just going to stay quiet. But I want to thank my tour guides. You're all in the second row there. It was such a pleasure to get to know you and your campuses. Thank you for sharing your teachers and students with us. And it was very obvious from the second I walked in any classroom door that your teachers love what they do. They love your students and your community. And your students are have so much gratitude for the programs and services you offer. It was, almost brings a tear to your eye, and it makes me jealous that I don't have that in my community to offer my previous students and family and friends. And this is definitely a place where I would be honored to work and call my home as well. So thank you for sharing that with us. For the community connection, this is actually, I chose this as my area of focus because it's something that I get to concentrate on in my role in my organization as well. So I like to steal ideas. So I'm always, what's in it for me? So it was fun to see that you're doing so many great things. And really, it's your business community connections, your community leader. We got to meet some of them on Sunday night and see that the passion and the love that they have for what you do and what they can do and bring to your students as well. And then the credit colleges, the fact that you're not here just to get students through your programs, but to carry them on through higher education, again, is to be commended. And they're not just going to college, but they're most of the time going with credits, or they're going to the workplace with skills that are going to make them more money and better their lives. So the areas of focus, really there's nothing new. There's nothing, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Really the theme is just more, more, more. Keep doing what you're doing with your community connections. I know it's difficult with funding streams and things to get work placements for your students and things, but after talking to teachers, it's obvious that they're kind of playing career counselor for their students. They're bringing those community partners in. They're getting phone calls saying, hey, I need somebody that can come do this welding project for me, and they're doing that you don't have the funds for. But if you can get the funds, we just know that would enhance your program so much more. And then just keep spreading the word. Don't stay a secret. We don't have a lot of money for advertising and marketing and things as public ed, but just keep fighting the good fight and singing singing your own praises and getting your students to do the same for you.
Alrighty. The action plan for continuing improvement. I don't think anything in here changed. You have a great connection with your business community, a great connection with community leaders, strong connection with credit colleges and transfer programs. Areas for focus is to improve outreach to employers and advisory groups to determine demand for skilled workers. So that's, I know you have your advisory board once or twice a year, but increasing that outreach to employers, maybe for internships. I know that you don't have the funding for the workers' comp for that, but maybe trying to find something that works with your business partners, you know, maybe union programs or things like that where they actually cover those expenses. Improve the data collection to track student success after they leave, which I know you guys are working on. Need to reach an untapped population of potential students and find avenues for your continuing ed students to acquire work-related experience, which kind of goes back to your finding employers in the community that maybe are looking for a skilled workforce, and sometimes they're willing to kind of pay for the expenses of having those students go out in the community.
The next thing that we'd like to do is to take a look at more of a global or comprehensive look at your strengths and some of the areas that perhaps can be focused upon. One.
Okay, so I have the first three. SDCE is authorized to offer classes in 8 of the 10 state-supported non-credit program categories and is authorized to offer classes in all 9 state-supported non-credit categories. CDCE provides mostly free to low-cost non-credit, and that was mentioned before earlier, programs with assistance to transition to higher education. And the third one is SDCE provides for the needs of disadvantaged populations, students with disabilities, and provides supportive counseling services, which is a hallmark of your student services. So that was really good to see.
Well, congratulations on your well-defined and supportive leadership structure. Also on the passion of your staff, the support of your staff. We've been saying that over and over again. It is so wonderful to see people that are so excited about where they work and so willing to share and to just be a part of what's happening here. So congratulations on that. And then the next page. We've talked about your participation in your governance structure that ensures participation from everyone. That's your students, your community, your staff, everyone. So we recognize that everyone has a role to play and everyone is encouraged and invited and called in to participate. So congratulations on that.
Bullet number 3, the professional development that you do have for your staff is incredible. The way you encourage them to go out onto sabbaticals and have access to programs to enhance their own professionalism is outstanding. The fact that your students are so diverse and you are responsive to that diversity is impressive. On the website itself, you have access to online tools, their application. You are really using that online tool as a form of communication to enhance and bring in the students. No longer just word of mouth, but you're also making sure that you are highlighting your signature programs at each of your sites, as well as the system overall.
And then the last one is your ASB, your student leadership, and the fact that you give your students a voice on campus. And I think what's most important about that, looking at it from an educator and somebody kind of more on the outside looking in, is that these students that are given voices in your organization are students in the real world right now probably wouldn't get those experiences. You know, they're people where English is not their first language. They're people that had struggles and maybe didn't complete high school on time like their peers and things. So the fact that they're shown here that they not only have a place, but they have a voice and that they can be leaders in their community is really, really powerful. So thank you for giving them that.
We're going to move on to some of the areas that need to be focused on.
So again, not doing things differently here, but just more and more of what you're doing. More classes and course offerings at times and in different formats so that more people have access to your programs to, again, enhance their own personal development or their job and educational goals. And communication collaboration, I'm back to my section. just doing what you can. It seems communication internally is really strong. Just focusing maybe more on getting that word out. In my organization, we talk about, as an ROP, we talk about how we're the best kept secret. And we always say that, and we say it with a laugh, but it's not funny, right? So be loud, be proud, because you're doing good things and everyone needs to know.
Providing equal access to targeted professional development with mechanisms that track and measure. What's the impact of that professional development? I love your head shake. Did you all see this stuff in here? Maintaining and securing technology in support of data-driven instruction, decision-making, and student services. And using that integrated planning to support your institutional and student success. One of the additional areas that we wanted to talk about is how are we going to make it happen with ongoing work? And there was something special that occurred that I'm not going to throw you off too much, but I'm a nurse. And the first time I heard the word continuing education, it was like, what? Am I going to accredit a school that helps people to further their licenses and, you know, keep their certifications? That doesn't make sense. Your name is confusing, in other words. And a consideration that name needs to be changed. Think about it. I would hold a big contest, right? Like name that school, you know, institutional, adult education or something, right? You know, name that too. And because it is confusing, you're offering everything that is necessary in adult education in that pre-collegiate educational services. But it's confusing, and I would think that there are people that don't come over here and, you know, when they look at the name, because it doesn't sound like you have what they need. And then they go into welding and they see those I Have a Dream statues and oh my goodness, you have some, anyway, I love your school. Consider rebranding, consider looking at changing it into something that expresses who you are. You know who you are. It would be nice for the community to better know also. I put that in. I'd like some assistance from everyone in the audience. There is no way that you can do this volunteer process without having dedicated professionals who not only have full-time jobs, families, and etc., but as well have to take off from that. And many of them have been making major phone calls to keep up with what's going on. Some of them are presenting to the board this evening and so forth. I'd like for you all to give me some assistance to thank the greatest WAS team that has ever existed. You heard them in their presentation to you of the various areas, and you could hear that because of their expertise, because of their backgrounds, that they could appreciate even better what they came in contact with here. And we're all going to go away better because of what we've experienced.